This dissertation analyzes the existing relationships and conflicts between the Western world and the Middle Eastern world at an economic, cultural, and political level. It doesn't leave out the ideological and religious roots of the current conflicts, as well as the terrorist groups linked to them. To elaborate these theses, I started from Oriana Fallaci's books because they help me to better understand the historical events and the cultural conflicts that are characterizing our time. Moreover, by reading her books, I was able to form my own opinion about the issue. In order to comprehend the international geopolitical scenario, two observations are needed. The first one is that based on the idea of a world still divided into two, as during the Cold War. One bloc is guided by the USA and the other one by Russia. Those two major powers are still trying to shape history and to define their influence in the most strategic regions of the world, such as the Middle East. And this takes us to explain the second observation. We must consider the Middle East as it really is, a territory heavily fragmented. This fragmentation dates back to Muhammad's death, when the Ummah, the Islamic community, divided in order to choose the Prophet's successor. Two factions stem from this division. On one end, there are the Sunnis, which today amount to the 90% of the Muslim population, and on the other one, the Shias, which are a minority. This separation is the reason at the basis of all the conflicts in this area of the world, and the terrorist groups in the region are an evident example of this theory. Just think about Al-Qaeda or ISIS. The latter is in fact an Al-Qaeda son, which first of all fights against the domestic enemy in the Middle East. In fact, both belong to the Sunni faction, and their greatest enemies are the traitors of the Islam, the Shias. They are defined as impure people or heretics. Al-Baghdadi sent a clear message by destroying many Shia places of worship in the occupied territories. Their major aim is that of reforming the Islam, while fighting the external enemy, the infidel, that is embodied by the Western world, is just a secondary problem. The principle of jihad, justified in the scriptures, clarifies this mechanism. Muslims have to face the greater jihad, that is an internal fight with themselves, in order to be good and honest people and be an example for the others. But they have to face also the lesser jihad, that is an external fight against those who threat or endanger the Islamic community or Islam. Fundamentalist groups such as ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra in Syria and Lebanon, Hamas in Palestine, the Taliban, Boko Haram in North Africa, or the Shia Hezbollah combat in the first place against the domestic traitor. And here there is the link with the first observation. The two superpowers, with their local allies, use this fragmentation to establish their influence. The USA are supported by their first commercial partner, Saudi Arabia, by Qatar, the Bahrain's monarchy, by the Yemenite president, and almost all the Gulf countries, while Russia is supported by the Shia Crescent, composed of Syria, Lebanon, and Iran, and all the Shia minorities in the Middle East. This region of the world is very important from a strategic and economic point of view. Just think about the fact that the Syrian conflict will define the Russian influence in the Middle East. In fact, Syria is the only access to the sea that Russia has in the Mediterranean. Moreover, it is still one of the few hostile countries for the USA. In fact, the Middle East scenario is also extremely changeable. Just think about Iran, the historical enemy of the USA and Saudi Arabia, which now is about to reconcile to this bloc thanks to the nuclear program agreement. Even Turkey, that is considered as a bridge between the East and the West, has an uncertain role. In fact, President Erdogan is dealing with many issues such as the historical war against the Kurds, the migration crisis, the treaty with the EU, the Syrian war, the potential relationship with ISIS, and the domestic problems due to the coup d'etat. If on one side the Middle East scenario is extremely unsteady, On the other, it seems to be unchanged since centuries. From this dichotomy stems an inevitable cultural clash with a civilization that is very far from us from a traditional point of view, but geographically very close. In fact, the Western culture has always tended towards innovation and progress. Despite its enormous faults and mistakes, it is still trying to change and improve itself. While the Middle East culture seems to be inert, or, as Oriana Fallaci says, it looks like a mountain, an immobile mountain that shuns progress, democracy, and social equalities. We shouldn't want to change or modify it. A clash between cultures is almost a natural step, but if it is forced, it could cause unhealable wounds. It would be a mistake denying that this is a cultural war. What defines us as people is culture, and wars are made for power or for an ideology. An ideology stems from culture. Therefore, we should recover that humanity intended as solidarity and compassion that makes us human beings in order to achieve a common goal. We should be able to respect one another with our differences. We should guarantee a proper welcome to those people that decide to live in our countries, but at the same time, we should guarantee the respect of our laws and customs in order to not jeopardize our identity. In fact, we should be more aware about ourselves and about our strength so that we can avoid further mistakes. We shouldn't renounce to our century-old culture, and we should fight to become one more time the cradle of that civilization that could still make a difference.